basically document, just create a log of everything that I'm doing as I'm looking through charts. So I might as well just post it for the StockTwits community, and maybe help some of you guys out, or maybe some of you guys could provide me some feedback on what you're seeing, so that it could help me be a better trader, and you as well. Today we had a nice day for the S&Ps after yesterday. Yesterday I was bearish around in this area. Then we got the follow through off that, and then today, even though it's an inside candle, it's a nice reversal going to the upside. If you look at this trend line is still intact. The only thing that's somewhat alarming to me is that if you look at the Bollinger Bands, in terms of the Bollinger Band's width, you've got pretty much a squeeze going on right now. It's comparable to back in January when they were at this level. That went to the downside, and also back in May, but that went to the upside. So that could go either way in terms of how this is going to resolve. We've obviously got earnings coming up for a lot of major companies that we trade, and a lot of major market caps that could send the market in any direction. Next is the Qs. Qs, like the S&Ps, this actually took out the high, which is very, very good to do that. Like you can see in before, it's got that nice uptrend that we're going on right now, and it took out that high of that candle yesterday. That's extremely bullish for the Nasdaq. Russell is, it's a different story based off of Yellen's what she said about it. We've got this strong downtrend that's going on right now. One could argue that there was, basically an Elliott wave set up here on the dailies, that you've got this, first spike down, you've got this coming back up, this little handle for it right here, and you got the follow through to the downside. You got the breakout, but you don't have any follow through. You have it, shoot back up. This was a trade that I was looking at taking yesterday, but I just, for some odd reason, I just didn't get into it. I could just talk you through it right now what I would have done. I actually like shorting, playing the indices right now with triple inverse funds, or triple leverage funds. I just like the price precision and not having to pay for the volatility of it, as you do with the options. So you see this from the daily chart, as this is kind of our trigger to go short. So then if we pull up the 30-minute going into this trade, is that you've got the break to the downside, then you've got basically retesting that area, and then the break down low. So if you would have entered in off the 30-minute orb on this, open range break for those that don't know, you get in here, you play it down. I like to get into trades that have a 3 to 1 risk to reward ratio. So basically I calculate my stop, my overall target, and then my first scale. My first scale is right around 2.5 to 3 range, based off of hourly resistance and hourly breaks. And then my overall scale is what my overall target is what I leave the runners to. So in this trade, let's say that you would get into it off this break. You're not necessarily profitable on this right away. Traditionally, I like using, we'd set on the fib retracement here. I would probably use the daily fib retracement. The top down to the bottom. I'd probably use about 0.318. So that's I like using even number theory. So I'd probably place my stop a little bit above 114. So I place my stop up there. Where's my short position? So then we take the short position off this trigger. Going there. Stops a little above 114. So then I'd be looking for this to be around 2.7 to 3. Obviously based off of, going back to the daily here, so, this thing could go down to, 110, or it could, on a good trade, it would follow through all the way to the downside. So that's my overall target of this Elliott wave breakdown. So you've got this all the way follow through to the downside. That's kind of okay. What I'm, best case, that's what happens. I'm sure a lot of traders are looking at this too. The thing about how I trade stuff is that I'm very aggressive, but I'm very, I'm okay with letting stuff go. So let's say that I'm in this right now, and basically I see this. I'm like, okay, I see this breaking down. So I'm still in this trade as in this morning. As I said, I'm an open range break trader, basically to get in and get out. So one of my trailing stops is the 30-minute orb in the other direction. So you see this breakdown, and then what ends up happening is that off this trigger, you start the day, you got the large, spike up, you got the break high. I'm out of this at 113.20. This is still, even though I'm wrong on this trade, it's still a profitable trade for me. So, it's not about being right or it's about being wrong. It's about how much do you lose when you're right, or excuse me, how much do you make when you're right, and how much you lose when you're wrong. So I'm just kind of giving you guys an overview of how I trade. Is that I'm taking a lot of day trading triggers and then setting them up on the larger time frame. All right, and then what I'm going to go through right now is basically just the list of stocks that I trade. Obviously, I gave you the indices. This, in my opinion, I'd let this settle a little bit. This could just be a a reversal to test that line. If it breaks down, it's still got more bearish sentiment to it. So then right now I'm going to go through my list of stocks that I generally go through, and give you guys of what I'm seeing with them. Basically, these are the same stocks that I trade every day, and I just look for patterns, either to swing trade or to day trade. Apple, this is actually a good candle today for Apple, in my opinion. Is that we have the two, got a bearish engulfing pattern here, the follow through yesterday, and then to basically not violate that low is a very, very good sign. It's got earnings coming up next week. I'm just gonna let this sit and let it be for earnings. Weekly it could use some rest. So if you're not trading Apple for the next 2 or 3 months, that's fine. You've made money all the way up this way. Let it sit and go find some other stock to trade. As Amazon is one that's got a great weekly setup. It's had very bullish since breaking out of that this flag pattern. One of also the key signals to look for is this 110 or this 710 low, and basically how that didn't violate anything, and then they continued to the upside. And that's something that, in my opinion, is if you look at these stocks going forward, is that's a huge pivot number for a lot of them. So Amazon's going to continue on to the upside. It's got earnings, I believe, next week. Yes, it does. This is still a very bullish pattern. If you want to, you could day trade this next week. I'm just going to avoid it. I like holding runners and seeing what the runners can do. Facebook as well. This is really bullish. A lot of people have been having problems with Facebook along this decline right here, this and then this trend up. They've been trying to swing it, and it just hasn't been working for them. I've been specifically only day trading Facebook, just because it doesn't follow Elliott wave theory, so I'm not going to try to swing it if the Elliott wave isn't there. Something to pay attention to going into earnings is look at this Bollinger Band. The Bollinger Band are very, very, they're tight here. They're tight here, and that you got that large spike up. So what I'm saying is that they're here. You got that large spike up. That I'm not saying which way it's going to go. I'm just saying that this thing is ready to move, and just to get your eyes on Facebook and to start paying attention to it. LinkedIn, something that I like. I don't love it because of this obvious how it just shot down. Once it broke out of this flag, it's not really giving me a sign to swing it long. But as a day trade, it wouldn't be a bad thing to do. You've got a very you're starting to get higher lows, and you could easily use this trigger to go long. What day is this? 7/14. I can't remember what anything specifically that happened that day that caused it to jump up, but you could use this trigger to go long. It's got low volume, not every day low volume compared to that. But yeah, you could use that 168 or 160.8 trigger, excuse me, to do like a day trade to the long if you get the right alignment with the orb just right above it, the 30-minute orb. Google, this had an amazing earnings release today. I'm not sure exactly what, but we're looking at a breakout on the weekly chart here. There's no reason not to say that we're testing these highs soon. This is something that I don't necessarily like to trade. I don't have, I'm just starting out trading. Not really starting out, but I don't want to take the risk to properly trade Google according to my system. I'll still provide updates. I'll paper trade Google on my own, but in terms of buying three or four contracts that are deep in the money for me, just I don't want to take that account hit. But basically looking at this, there's no reason is that once we break these highs that it's not going to all-time highs here. That's we had a comeback, we had the test, and then we had it shoot forward. Like that's a slingshot to the upside. Netflix is questionable for me right now. If you look at all the other high beta stocks that people trade, Netflix is one today that didn't get that movement that we would like. It did close at highs of the day, but it's not getting anywhere close to the weekly highs. The other thing too is that I was talking about that 710 low. That low hasn't been violated. This one just let it sit until earnings. Earnings are coming up soon anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Weekly chart on this. Weekly chart looks really interesting. You got this huge cup, but I'm not exactly sure of what to think of the weekly here. Now, if we break this high, it could keep going, but who knows? Who knows? We'll find out when it happens, and we'll just trade it day by day. Priceline, in my opinion, isn't looking good. This isn't one that I trade, like I said, because of account size. I want to be trading 5 to 10 contracts so that I can do proper scales, and this isn't one that I can do that with. Like I said, it's not challenging the breakout areas. Let this sit. If the market goes short, this is one that you could do some short lottos on that could pay huge. Tesla is one that I like to the long side. I've been posting this. I think I posted one comment that said I was bearish on it, and then I looked at it again and I instantly flipped. And it's because of Elliott wave theory is why that I'm overall bullish on it. If the stock according to Elliott wave is that on a breakout it shouldn't violate the breakout area. And so far, one could argue that this was the breakout area. This is the breakout area that I took, but it shouldn't violate this breakout area. Another group could say, okay, this is the breakout area, and it hasn't broken that. It's tested it here at 710, that pivot day that I'm talking about. It didn't test it there. It tested it again here, and it's dojied, and then now it's shooting up. You got this trend line going here. This is something that you're going to look for a long trigger somewhere in here and try to follow through. The weekly is the Bollinger Bands are squeezing on the weekly, so that this thing is getting ready to move. But then again, if you look at the Bollinger Bands, from there it's anything squeezing compared to that. So just basically watch this. It's at an inflection point right now. Also, too, is you can argue Elliott wave theory now on a longer time frame, which would be the weekly, saying that this is the bottom. This is the breakout area from the bottom of the first wave. And this is the start of the third with this break high. So, for those long-term investors, this would be a good buy. But you've got earnings coming up, and I don't hold through earnings. Twitter is one that I hate. I know a lot of people trade it. It's just that it's just a slow grinder for me. Whenever I take trades in it. Um, but what I'm seeing right here is that we've got, the 710 low was tested, but it wasn't violated. It could shoot up to the upside here. It's slightly lower. It's also testing this ER high too. One could consider that a breakout area, but I'm not bullish or bearish on this right now. I'm more or less neutral. In order for me to really look at this going long, it would have to be where I feel that this thing could break this high. This is a trend reversal. See if we have any trend reversals on the hourly here. We got close to one. No, we don't have anything that's really solid right now to go ahead and trade. IBM is one that had a nice decreasing wedge right down here, and then shot up from that after that doji with inside doji. Now it's got these two large doji and this wide candle range after ER. This is one that it's going to take some time to set up, so just keep it on. But based off of how wide these are, there's lots of indecision in that it can move once it gets ready to go. Weekly is Bollinger Band squeeze as well. So this thing's set up to move, and it's actually looking good from the weekly. If you look at this, we're getting that up to the up, and that now we're getting this trend down that we're trying to break out of. So ideally, if we break this high, it's something that you'd be looking to swing trade. I shouldn't use a weekly on GoPro. 4 hours should be okay. GoPro is one that I'm watching to the long side. And with these IPOs is that they first started off with Twitter, I believe it went down, but this one shot up right away. I'm not sure how much juice this is going to have in order for its first run, but I'm really watching this this 44.5 to 50 area here as a break high. You got most of the trade, most of the volume down here. So then once we break this, it could easily go up to the 50 or beyond. My target would be highs of 50 as my first true scale point, trailing it with 30-minute orb low, and then just keep going up. And we'll see if that 50 hits. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But this could be a really profitable trade. You take some off, and then one could argue you could get an Elliott wave. I don't think it's more or less a head and shoulders here. So we'll take the fib going up here. You got 51s between 50. Yeah, it should. If this breaks out, it should go to 50 easily. I would take probably about 80% off there and just let the rest run and trail it and see what happens. Go back to the daily here. Baidu is one that I like. In terms of a technical trade, but things aren't lined up right. We've got if we go to the 2-hour chart here, this is the one that I like to use for most of my triggers. Is that we have not a lot of volume above that 190, 150. So I would really you got the test, you got the small pullback above this breakout area. You could go long with an orb, with a 30-minute orb above 151, 50, or if we got a breakout on 194 with volume, you could take a 5-minute off that, or with a gap up, or you could do a more aggressive trigger off of that. Yahoo is one that I don't like at all right now. Let's look at the weekly chart here. You've got this area of support that it's testing. That's something that you don't necessarily want to fight with. And basically I'm watching for a break low If we go back to the S&Ps here, hold on, that, I'm basically saying that, okay, I don't want to be going short this just because it's constantly going up. Dips are being bought. Dips are being bought. But I would be okay with going with Yahoo short, just because it had that earnings release. And if we look at the hourly chart, it's got a double inside hourly candle, which is one of my trend reversal triggers that I watch. Is that this candle's inside this one, inside that one. The last time I traded this was Apple. Let's pull it up here, which was back here. That we have the inside candle on the daily. So we've got this day and this day. And then you would have the double inside hourlies down here. You guys can see that. And then this is obviously inside of this. So I went long on this break here. And then when did I? Can't remember where exactly I added, but I remember I bought here and then I added on one of the breakouts, and then I sold somewhere along in here, and then I rebought here and then sold at 98. Well, I tried to sell at 96s, but or 97s, and it didn't work out. But what I'm saying is that this happened right at the inflection point. So what you want to try to do is you want to try to basically find a trend change, because this is technically a wave right here. Is that you have the wave up and you have the pullback. So that signifies a trend change. So you know that that's going to be taking out these highs because it's been following Elliott wave. So now if we go back to Yahoo, we see more or less an inside candle, really close to it. We got that test. This is something that I'm looking for the short side on. Also, too, if we put macroeconomics in perspective, is that we've got the Alibaba IPO coming up, and generally what happens is that these companies that have a stake in the bigger company generally do really bad. I remember I was looking at GSVC for the Twitter IPO because they had like 30% of their portfolio in Twitter. I was like, yeah, okay, I definitely want that, and that's what happened. So, never gonna do that again. So, it could go down, it could go up. Who knows? But that's what the charts are telling me right now, and that's what I'm gonna act on. Z is one that you could be bearish on, you could be bullish. You could be a buy the dip here. You could be okay, this is breaking these lows. It's got that hammered down. If we break these lows, it could follow through. But like I said, based off how expensive these options are, I don't want to be taking this thing short. I don't want to be fighting the trend of the market doing a high value short or a high priced short that I'm gonna get screwed over on the decay. And then hold on. So Yelp is actually one of those. Yelp is, a high-priced, high volatility put that you would buy. And look at this. This one went down, and then it shot back up. So what I'm saying is that, you might get chopped around taking it, and that's not something that I want to do. Whereas if the market was falling through to the downside, I would definitely be looking at that, but it's not. So basically, with Yelp, like I said, we had a false break reversal today. We'll have confirmation if we take out those highs. And then we'll look to trade it long, around here, and that's if we get to it before earnings. SWKS, this one looks good. Had the very large bullish candle today. Weekly, it's taking out highs. Probably is going to have to consolidate a little bit like it did before. And then you'd look to trade the breakout. This one we're going to have to wait for a little bit on just because of how great today's candle was. But, it's something that we're going to be watching. SanDisk, this is another reason why, you don't play earnings is that, you could be long. I know a lot of the traders that I trade with, we're long SanDisk, throughout here. And then earnings comes in, bam, it just kills them. But um, SanDisk is something that you could start to go for the short side on. But like I said, let's put things in perspective here. We're in a bull market. I'm not going to be really looking to take anything short. Just because the probability's out there. This is one that I'm starting to like. It's starting to build a base here. We've got the 710 is the low, and then now we haven't violated it, and we're just kind of building up to try to get to this trigger. Do we have anything here in the hourly to really tell us to get in? Oh, we got those insides right there and the spike down. There's nothing that's saying that we could really jump in this early, in my opinion. We're gonna have to wait for this 78 number to go long, but based off the way that this thing squeezes, you should be good. Amgen had a really nice reversal candle today, but nothing that we can trade. This one is an inside candle, so we go down. I'm not really exactly sure on what I'm seeing here, other than I don't really want to trade it. So we look, look at hourly. Could we argue Elliott wave? I mean, you could argue Elliott wave, but that's only if we take this thing down, because we're technically not at this breakdown area here. We're not through the support. We're testing the support right now. So I mean, but who knows? But it's not something that's set up right. Guild or Gilead or however you pronounce it. That was a really nice candle today. It's got earnings, I believe, next week. Let's just wait for it to settle up. Kind of grouping the solar stocks together. One out of the four is always set up really nice compared to the other ones. In this case, it's SunPower. This one has the higher lows coming up. You're closing at the daily high on a month. This thing is if we take this out, we're easily testing the 42 mark. We're testing those highs. Let's do a risk reward on this. So that let's say that we take this, our overall target is this is short position. So we take this. We're in a little short of that. Our target are 42s. Our stop is get a little closer here. We got to really tighten the stop. 1 to 3 isn't good enough in my opinion. One thing that I really like to do is look at the hourly and see if we could get basically an Elliott wave in terms of this. This looks like a flag to me. You got the breakdown, you got the flag, and then we're gonna break up. So really what we could do is we could take the the 61 and 8/10 of use that as our stop. That's actually not a bad stop in general. Let's see what this changes the risk reward to be. Okay, so now at 2.6. That's not a bad trade to have. It would probably take a few days to get there once we break this, but it's something that would be a very profitable trade if we were to get in. Green Mountain Coffee Roasters. This is kind of a mess. Like I said, there's lots of people that wanted to play this breakdown. But the thing is, it broke down. We're in a bull market, and they, sure enough, we had a good day and didn't break through, and you're up to the upside now. And then, based off how the premiums on that thing work, you just got killed. Goldman Sachs is one that I love. I tried taking it yesterday, and then the overall market, I just decided to take a 60-cent loss on it. this one had the highs here. It's testing these highs. If we get break out of these highs next week, we're looking at 175 is my target based off of, I can't remember what I based it off of. We got fib retracement. Let's see what we got. Yeah, there you go. I got 174.3. That's a good place to put it. And then that also corresponds to this kind of area of support and resistance here. Giving us, you can kind of see, there's, a consolidation period there. So I'd be looking to sell into that area. And, here as well. So that, it's kind of an area that, okay, if that goes through, it's gonna go there. So that's kind of what I'm looking at there. Hopefully I can get a good trigger on this. This thing is setting up real nicely. What does the weekly look like here? Okay, the weekly Bollinger Bands are definitely tight. They could use a spike. There hasn't been one since over a year. So I mean, if this thing breaks, it could easily try the 82s or the 80s or the 180s. I mean, excuse me, and then above 180 it could. But long-term trade. But I'm not going to worry about that. I just got to worry about getting my trigger here, getting out here, and then seeing where the runners go. MasterCard didn't really like the past couple of days candles on this. This is one that's above this 80 area is it could go up from ER. It's got a nice base forming here, coming up here. But this is longer picture stuff that isn't going to make you money in intraday or on a short time frame. So I'm probably just going to wait to ER to play MasterCard again. Visa, I've been constantly trading. I identified it here as a long, and then once it took out that high, the flag is a long. But it hasn't followed through the way that I would like. So I'm just kind of waiting on ER to give it a to tell us where we want to go. Weekly on this is definitely tight. So it's just a matter of the ER gives us the boost, and then we'll play the breakout on that. Chipotle. The breakdown, the reversal. You could what does the hourly look like? Come on here. Yeah. See how that's kind of the support area here, how it's kind of going up into it right now. If we break this low, this is definitely a short. So that's kind of what I'm looking for there. Disney's kind of fading on us. Got some time before ER. One could... No, you haven't really violated any breakout areas yet. I mean, you kind of violated this one, but it wasn't really like an area. This is kind of the breakout area in my opinion. So really, this isn't a short because you're gonna be shorting it, and there's gonna be people buying the dip. You're not. I'm not gonna play this game for a buck. FedEx has had a nice run after ER. Chart's kind of messy. Just wait for it. Boeing is really messy as well. I think the weekly on this thing is getting really tight, and we just have to wait it out for ER. EOG. I mean, this has been a good oil stock to trade. You're basically looking at these highs up here as your trigger. It's definitely not a short. ExxonMobil, same thing. These highs is your trigger long, but it's not fully ready yet. Cat is one that I'm watching. Problem with Cat right now is that technical analysis doesn't really work because you get this dividend of 70 cents. So, I mean, you can try to go it, but it's not going to follow behavior. Las Vegas Sands. This is definitely bearish. You can see this right here. It's just testing those lows. Just testing. It had earnings? Oh, okay. I mean, you could probably play this break low, but I think the weekly is probably squeezing on the weekly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is probably a good short if the market's gonna start having a pullback here, but um, it's nothing to really worry about. And I've got we've got WinER coming up this same time, and it's got the same overall trend. So that's kind of the stocks that I have right now. I'll can post the charts for next week, but I'm just giving you guys basically what I look for, what I trade, and we'll see if we end up making money. Who knows? So, all right, you guys have a good weekend and have a good one.